Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ishay Attar, the founder, chairman, and CTO of a startup company named BioChange. And in BioChange, we are mimicking embryonic way of regeneration to achieve growth of young tissues and organs in an adult or aged individual. Now, the next short video I'm going to show you was probably one of the first viral videos on the web. It was before the social media. This is like 22 years ago, and I was then about 30 years of age. I think this was always in my mind and stimulated my wish to deal with aging and solve it or help or contribute to it. Unfortunately, we are, as humans, are far from perfect, and we invest too much in wars and counter terror or counter rockets. But this video is another type of ballistic missile that we should look at and think how we are going to solve it. Let me run it. There's no sound, but it's okay. Yeah, time just flies, and we're all of us here. All of us here are trying to contribute their own counter ballistic missile to stop or delay or help with the aging. And I think this is what humanity should really focus on, because life is really short, and if everyone would see that, we're all just the same, and we all want to, whether we are, whatever religion we are, whatever we wear, or whatever language we speak, we want to solve it and help here. So what we are doing is tissue regeneration, and regeneration of the organs or tissue is really the last line of defense. It's like the Iron Dome of longevity, where it's like an onion, where one layer after another one, as we age, falls apart, degenerates. We want to be there and repair it. In BioChange, we are currently active in the pet care market. That means veterinary products only. We are not yet in the human markets, but we're aiming to go into dental care. That would be our first product. Next would be aesthetic dermatology and plastic surgery. That means rejuvenating the skin. In the dental, we will be treating periodontal disease and bone defects. Later on, we will continue to solve urinary incontinence, neural repair, macular degeneration, wound management, orthobiologic, and limb regeneration. Now, every one of those circles, we have proof of concept. Even on limb regeneration, we have proof of concept that we can actually achieve that. But currently, we're focused on the first three. Our approach is to manipulate or work with the extracellular matrix. We are a medical device. We are not a biologic. We don't inject any cells to the tissue. We only work with the ECM. Now, ECM is super important. About 80% of tissues, of solid tissues, is the ECM, and about 20% is the cells. It not only provides structural support, but it also facilitates communication between cells, and it plays a crucial role in the healing, in the growth, and also in the aging of the tissue. The adult ECM looks like more or less like this in the skin, which is a fibroblast, and you see fibers. It's fibers of the protein, mainly collagen. The problem is that as we finish growing our organs, actually, as we go out to the air, we already lack regenerative capabilities. We can only really minimally repair tissue with fibrotic scarring. We don't have the ability to really build back tissues or organs in the same way that they were supposed to be, to the original blueprint. what's going on. Excuse me. Something got stuck here. I'll try to continue without the presentation. So when we look at the embryonic phase of life, the embryo, where there's the gastrulation, and after that, the organogenesis. The organogenesis, everything is then generated. All the structures, all the multi-level complex organs and functionality is built in humans within 5 weeks. 5 weeks of organogenesis, and everything just forms. And we went to the embryologist, try to understand what they've learned and try to mimic or learn as much as we can so we can replicate that phase of life, the beginning of life. So that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to reset the biological system, or not really reset it, but provide cells a way to do what they could do at the beginning phase of life. So when we were at that phase, the organogenesis phase, the cells were able to, each cell just knows where it wants to go, where it needs to go, and what it needs to differentiate into. And how is this? This cannot happen without communication. So the cells must communicate with each other, transfer information between each other, and this is what we are trying to regain trying to bring back to the tissue when we are applying our technology. We are trying to regain the communication between cells, the synchronizations between the cells when they regenerate, when they want to grow back the tissue. So they don't do a scar, but they actually develop new tissue. So Biochain developed this technology we named cell foam. Cell foam is a scaffold, okay? It's a scaffold which is different from other scaffold because it mimics the embryonic foam, which is the embryonic scaffold, which is also a foam. This technology can come in several ways, as an injectable or solid. It was validated in multiple tissues and organs and multiple species, dogs, cats, humans, rats, even a tapir. I'll show you what it looks like. It's physical, okay? It just comes very easy to deliver to the physician. It comes in powders, and they can be mixed. It can come also as a solid that is hydrated. Once mixed, there's an enzyme here that stabilizes the foam. The foam is made of gelatin. And after a minute, it becomes a very flexible, soft, feels like tissue. It has unique biomechanical properties to it, and it's really random. It's a random foam. There's no size. There's abundance of sizes, and it's just the uniqueness of it is that it's a closed cell foam. It's not a sponge. It has totally different rheology than just a sponge. The young models, meaning the biomechanical properties, resemble that of soft tissue, but I'm going to show you some surprises about it also can regenerate bone tissue very well. We use gelatin because it's super safe. It has 75 years of track record as an implantable biomaterial. And it regulates the inflammatory response very well. It's actually less immunogenic than collagen. And this can also be reversible by injection of a collagenase. We cross-link it with an enzyme to maintain biocompatibility. We cross-link it with an enzyme which is named microbial transglutaminase. And this cross-linking method is really also makes it bioadhesive, so it adheres to tissue, and there's near zero cellular toxicity associated with it. What you see here is really the magic of life from a blastocyst, ball of cells, we turn, actually this is a zebrafish, it turns into an organism with all the organs and tissues and everything just within 2 days. So embryologists use this model to research. It's also transparent so they can see everything. So what are we talking about? So we're talking about a smart material that can shape itself, okay? It contains trillions of cells. Each cell is an independent processing unit that receives biochemical signals, but not only biochemical signals. Biochemical signals were researched for the past 40, 50 years, but we could still not decipher this. But most recently, there's been research that was published about the mechanical signals. So it turns out that cells actually have a mechanism to vibrate and transduce information or communicate information to the surrounding cells mechanically. And this doesn't mean here that there's a brain or something that guides them. I mean, it's like in a way like a blockchain. They do it synchronous. They synchronize the growth of everything, and each cell just knows what to do it. So they have to be able to send that information to the next cell and the next cell after that. So how do they do it? So I want to present research not done by us, done by Professor Roger Campas from UC Dresden. So what he did is brilliant. He injected ferromagnetic micron ferromagnetic oil droplets into the extracellular matrix of that embryo of the zebrafish. And then once he applied forces on those ferromagnetic droplets and released, the ferromagnetic droplets want to come back to be round. So it applies forces locally on the tissue. So he could measure the forces that the tissue is applying in every point in space, and he could take an image, a video of it, a 4D image. So what you see here on the right is not some simulation. It's the true mechanical forces in the embryo, and it's a foam. I mean, his discoveries uncovered or show the way this is the embryo is doing it is by transducing information through tingling of the foam. The next curious phenomenon is the axolotl, the salamander that can regenerate a limb, even if it's been amputated 5 to 6 times during the lifetime. It can regenerate it perfectly, actually. You wouldn't even see the scar at the place of the dissection. And how is it being achieved? So once there's an amputation, there's a biological reset, and there's a limb bud that grows out of the amputated limb, just like in the case of the embryo. And every cell just knows where it needs to go. This one knows it wants to become a bone, a nerve, muscle. Everything just perfectly grows back into place. So if they can do it, I'm sure that we will be able to do it. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when we will be able to achieve that for humans, for soldiers, for aging, for anything. So, by the way, another interesting point of fact is that the axolotl, a recent research by Ovas and his team, uncovered that the new limb, the methylation clock of the new limb is actually young. It's a young limb. It has all the characteristic of a young limb. It's not. It's different from the rest of the body. So it's really interesting. And you can imagine one day in the future there will be, amputated, so let's say soldiers or injuries that will have to go with a small limb for a year until it grows back and becomes normal again. I'm sure this will happen. So I'm going to show you some of our data our achievements in animals. This is an example of injection of the cell foam into the hypodermis of a rat. Then this staining shows the collagen in the blue and the scaffold itself, the foam in red. And you can see angiogenesis, new blood vessels forming inside the foam, new tissue, new functional tissue. After I did mention, but the foam is degradable, and after the degradation is over, the tissue stabilizes, the remodeling phase is over, and we can see here, for instance, an injection site where we have new skin in a pig. This is in a pig after 150 days. And we can see the growth of new skin tissue. So the dermatologists, they ask us, is this a colloid? Is this a scar tissue? What is it? Let's look into it. So we did some immunostaining of the regenerated tissue, and we've seen the good type of the collagen, type 1, and the right balance of elastin fibers, and also the morphology of those fibers seem very similar to young fibers, not to scar tissue. Surprisingly, we also did experiments that show this can also stimulate bone. Why is it surprising? Because the current scientific dogma in biomaterials is that if you want to regenerate bone, you need to inject or apply a very stiff scaffold. But you saw our scaffold is not stiff at all. The results are really amazing. You can see here, for instance, a socket that was not filled with anything on B was filled with a positive control. Hydroxyapatite, one of the commercial bone grafts, doesn't work very well. And then with the cell foam, it works extremely well. Also in histology, we see osteons forming around the biomaterial and generating dense bone. This is another example applied in the veterinary case. There's a fracture, a critical bone fracture of a jaw mandible of a small bred dog. It didn't heal very well with fixation. We applied a unit of the foam in there, and then it healed quite well. So our first product is to the market, the human market, is the Regum. We anticipate it will be approved in around the end of 2026. 40% of the people suffer from periodontal disease, moderate to severe one, and after this presentation, I'm sure all of you would want to solve it because it affects aging. In this case, the structure, there's a chronic inflammation there at the gums, and after a while, it degrades the bone, degrades the soft tissue, and everything just falls apart. There's a clear relationship between periodontitis and longevity. It has shown to significantly reduce telomere length, inflammation, systemic effect, immune system regulation, and there's a huge study that was done actually in dogs where they sampled around 350,000 dogs, and they took comparing dogs with all factors being equal, with the only difference is that one group received annual cleaning and the other one did not. There was a 20% difference in the risk of death to those that didn't receive the annual treatment. So I urge you, if you want to use the Iron Dome here or cell foam dome or whatever you call it and live longer, go do annual cleaning of your gums. So what we do here, we insert those units of foam into the gum. There's two different types, and this is surgically, of course. And we've done a split, not us, but a group of leading veterinarians. They ran a clinical study in dogs where they used a split face design. The control was just the cleaning. This is the standard of care. Open, clean, close. And in our case, the side that received the Regum, open, clean, close, and put in the unit of Regum, and the results were extraordinary. We've seen bone growth, we've seen soft tissue growth. All the structure just grows back. In 12 months later, those are a case study follow-ups, veterinarians that came back to us amazed with the results. You can see here how bad the situation was in the upper photos. And actually, those teeth were supposed to be extracted, but they didn't. They inserted the Regum, so we're actually saving teeth. We are building back the bone line. Everything is being recovered, not just the bone, but also the soft tissue and the connective tissue in between. And this is quite amazing because current competitors, they need to apply, when a bone graft is applied, they need to apply also a membrane, a collagen membrane. Why do they need to do it? Because normally, the soft tissue grows 10 times faster than the bone. So they need to put the membrane, so the soft tissue, the gingiva, doesn't interfere with the bone growth. But in our case, we just put 1 unit of the foam, and the cells, they now know how to synchronize the growth of the bone and the soft tissue. They don't compete anymore because they can communicate. They can synchronize. Second product, I'll go over it really briefly because that will be a longer time to the market. Unfortunately, it will make us look younger and rejuvenate our skin. So over time, we lose, from the age of 20 and on, we lose about 1% of collagen every year. And eventually, the skin doesn't look very well when we come to the end. So here we developed this into an injectable that can be injected and can recreate the structure of the hypodermis and the dermis, and it can be applied to multiple applications. And this is, on its own, is about a $1 billion potential blockbuster product for us when it comes to the market, but this is a PMA product, so it will take longer. We've done also comparison to other biostimulators in the aesthetic market that claim to regain collagen. And this is a head-to-head study that compares the other technologies like PLLA, calcium hydroxyapatite, and PCL. None of them can do what we can do. We also, of course, have patents and patent pending. And our timeline is really to bring the Regam product, the periodontal product, to the market in 2026, and later the aesthetic and dermatological product in 2027. And there, I'm finished. I want to thank my team and thank our investor, Quadrascope, who are also a sponsor in this conference. I'll be happy to answer questions. Questions? Anyone?
So actually, I work in medical area.
That's okay.
Yeah. But as I understand, actually, you create network between different cells, and now they can communicate between them, and in this case, to build their cell and to grow in a more natural way.
Yeah.
This is,
Yeah. I mean, the information about the blueprint of the physical blueprint of the tissue, it's in every cell, but they can't normally communicate it in the adult scaffold, using the adult scaffold. They can only communicate that using that embryonic foam. Okay? So,
bring them like in a very young
we just give them the way to communicate. It's nature that knows what it needs to do. We don't need to guide it. It knows how to guide itself. Once you allow the cells to synchronize, to communicate, everything just grows back. By the way, we have also data that show we can regenerate an ear, okay? We've done some experiment. I'm sorry I cannot present it yet, but maybe next year we'll be able to. This study is still ongoing. But we've shown that we can regenerate skin, bone, and also the jaw. The jaw is a structure, is an organ, a simple organ, but it's an organ that contains several tissues, and everything synchronously grows back. Yes?
So you actually assume that for any tissue that you treat, you'll have enough stem cells.
Yeah.
And what about aging? Because the most problematic issue with aging is the senescence and the lack of regeneration.
Yeah, there are always stem cells waiting to be recruited to reserve duty, even in the aged person. Obviously, I can't really answer that scientifically. We haven't done those experiments yet. We are treating aged dogs in the periodontal cases, and we've seen great results. So I suppose there's always enough stem cells there, but this is just an hypothesis that needs to be proven in the future. And the only human that's been treated so far is myself, and I'm not old enough, I hope.
I would.
When we have a clinical study, yes, please.
I just wanted to ask you, is there a difference in the regeneration of, say, mandible between a 30-year-old and an 80-year-old?
Between what?
A 30-year-old and an 80-year-old. I mean, besides the foam, are you introducing also a system to trigger the regeneration of cells?
We haven't seen such a difference between the aged animals that we've treated and the younger animals that we've treated, and we've treated various ages
Thank you very much.
of dogs in our veterinary product.
It's my fault for not having paid enough attention.
Thank you very much.
When do you expect to start treating humans?
We hope next year.
In the periodontic product?
Yes. This will be the first one. Also, we are now working hard to kick off the aesthetic product, the hypodermal injection for recovering the skin's collagen. That study should also be starting in 2025, but pending funding.
My last question, so what's the regulatory path for this product?
So we're just now engaging with the FDA about the regulatory path, so I cannot give definite answers, but our assumptions and of our regulatory consultants that giving some limitation on the labeling of those of this scaffold, we can be a medical device, even for the periodontal product, a 510K periodontal device, a 510K device, which is rather fast to be in the humans, and the injectable, the aesthetic dermatology or biostimulator, as it's called in this field, is going to be a PMA product. Take longer.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.